With 0 victories so far, Mercedes sees their worst season since 2013. Ever since 2012, the German formation won at least one race. The 2022 season not only sees negative records for Mercedes, but also for Hamilton. Up until this year, Hamilton has never gone without a race win longer than 10 races. However, he currently goes 18 races without a victory, and there is a real chance that it will be his first season ever where he doesn't win at least one race. Although he mentioned to motorsport.com that he doesn't care about records, he did mention to therace.com that he is no fan of Red Bull's dominance this season. Luckily for the fans, Hamilton said that he still enjoys driving in F1 and that he takes great pleasure in fighting close battles in both the mid and front of the field. Yet, Russell had high hopes before the start of the season that Mercedes was capable of winning races. After seeing Mercedes dominate in the previous 8 years, he hoped to become part of a once more dominant team. However, early June, he said he was disappointed that his team was so far off the front runners. Although Mercedes gained ground, they are still far off the pace of mainly Red Bull. More recently, Russell was asked by motorsport.com whether Mercedes still has a chance to win a race this season. Singapore could be very interesting, but has been a circuit historically where Mercedes have struggled a little bit. We know that at street circuits this year we haven't fared so well. I think as a team we're making a huge amount of progress and we are understanding the car more and more. Hopefully as we develop the car further we can take some further gains. I would probably say maybe Aston. Austin could be a circuit that suits us, but I truly don't know. While the 2022 season is slowly coming to an end and Mercedes is still in the fight to claim second place at the Constructors' Championship, more important choices have to be made. It is no secret that Mercedes has had difficulty understanding their no sidepod concept. On the one hand, the German team sees huge potential in their concept and could give them a big lead on others. But on the other hand, they question whether this can be achieved in a short time frame and whether the Red Bull concept is just a better overall concept. When Toto Wolff was recently interviewed, he said, "It's not like that I believe we've discovered the Holy Grail and we understand everything, and it's going to be a blast next year. This is now a crucial period. Literally over the next 1 to 2 months, we need with a certain degree of precision to understand what needs to be done for next year." However, insiders now claim that Mercedes is considering huge changes to their 2023 car and is using a lot of next year's resources into finding out what works best. So what did ex-F1 driver Mark Zucher say? What does Hamilton think about Red Bull's dominance? What did technical director Chauvelin say about how Mercedes will develop their 2023 car? And will this be enough to catch up with Red Bull? Let's find out. After 8 dominant years, Mercedes now face the same problem as Red Bull experienced back in 2014. Before the 2014 season, Red Bull secured 4 consecutive Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, and Vettel even managed to win the last 9 races in the 2013 season. Sebastian still holds the record for most back-to-back victories. However, after dominating F1, Red Bull fell back significantly with the introduction of the 2014 regulations. Besides stepping away from the atmospheric V8s and using V6 hybrid turbo engines, the regulations also impacted the aerodynamics of the car. However, with the downfall of Red Bull, the rise of Mercedes started. Interestingly, the severe regulation changes of this season saw an end to an 8-year dominance of Mercedes, while bringing back Red Bull on top in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. Despite winning 111 races out of 160 races in the last 8 years, both team boss Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton criticized the current Red Bull dominance. In a recent interview with The Race, Hamilton said, "I don't think Verstappen's dominance is a good sign. I look at other sports and I wish F1 was just about pure skill set that would make the difference. There are so many skills of people coming together. Communication, the amount of work, the process, the direction you go to. It is like we all steer the boat. We have Toto as captain, but we drivers are also part of the crew that steers the boat." Hamilton is also afraid that Red Bull will only pull away further the upcoming years. He said, "If your car is fast one year, it evolves into a faster car the next year, so the gap they have now will be very hard for anyone from third downwards to ever close in this cycle of car design. There are limitations with budget and wind tunnel and CFD time, and we have to be very clear and precise in the direction we want to go in, and very efficient in our time." It is precisely the new limitations that are hurting Mercedes the most. They don't have an advantage in total amount of resources available and are limited by the budget cap and simulation times. So what did technical director Chauvelin say about the development of the new 2023 car? In an interview with motorsportweek.com, he said, "The 2022 season has been an interesting journey. I think we were too optimistic in where we thought we could let the car drive. We learned important lessons the last couple races, which gives us a clear indication how we have to develop the car in the future. In a previous interview, Chauvelin already stated that Mercedes researches the Red Bull concept. Chauvelin is intrigued by the high downforce but low drag that the Red Bull cars simulate. Adrian Newey, master designer of Red Bull, developed one of the most dominant cars in a relatively short time frame. Christian Horner revealed that they started developing their 2022 car quite late, as they didn't want to leave out the opportunity to win the 2021 Drivers' Championship. This is both good and bad news for Mercedes. But why? On the one hand, it means that Mercedes should be capable of redesigning their car in a short period and follow Red Bull's concept. On the other hand, it means that Red Bull has worked relatively little on exploring and developing their concept, and that there is still much more room to improve. One person who is convinced of the direction Mercedes will head into is ex-F1 driver Marc Zurer. In an interview with MotorsportTotal.com, he said, "Mercedes didn't build the perfect chassis this year. They're coming with a Red Bull concept next year, and then they are back. Their current sidepods actually increased drag and reduced their top speed. When they switch to the different concept next year, their top speed will also increase." Although Mercedes is likely to change their complete concept, the big question remains, is Mercedes capable of closing the gap for the 2023 season? Multiple teams have tried to copy elements and even whole concepts from other teams, hoping that it will help them make the leap forward. Two recent teams that have tried to copy the concepts of the front runners are Haas and Aston Martin. Dan Fallows, ex-head of aerodynamics at Red Bull, brought up the Red Bull concept at Aston Martin. They introduced a significant upgrade package at Barcelona, which led to them being called the Green Red Bull. Haas, on the other hand, introduced a large upgrade package in Hungary and made their chassis look similar to Ferrari's. Although the Haas and Aston Martin cars look similar to Red Bull and Ferrari, they are still on average 2 seconds a lap slower. So what does this mean for Mercedes? No doubt that Mercedes has access to better resources than Haas and Aston Martin. Although the budget cap is restricted at $143.9 million this year, including the extra budget to cover for inflation, Mercedes still has access to their state-of-the-art factory and human resources. However, the biggest problem for Mercedes lies in the reduced amount of CFD and wind tunnel time. After winning the Constructors' Championship last year, they got penalized with the least amount of wind tunnel and CFD time out of all the teams. However, at July 1st, when the new benchmarks were made up, they were third and therefore are allowed to spend more time testing components of their car. But another issue is the lack of correlation between their wind tunnel and on-track. In an interview with Motorsport.com, Wolff said, "The non-correlation in the various areas of the car is causing us to not perform. Maybe there is a single thing that overshadows everything, and therefore we are not doing it justice to question every part of the car." But although Mercedes have multiple issues to solve for next year, Zurer remains positive. Of course you have a backlog when you make the new concept. On the other hand, they learned an incredible amount with their porpoising, and I think that experience wasn't for nothing. And as Wolff stated, it is physics, not mystics. Do you think Mercedes should copy Red Bull's car concept? Let me know in the comment section below.